In 1974, the production team shot a brief scene close to my childhood home in California. Being just a young child, I remember climbing the fence to steal a glimpse of the set. I witnessed firsthand as Lynda Carter spun through the blinding flashes of light, and just like that, she transformed into a true superhero. That image is etched in my memory forever, and Wonder Woman remains my favorite show of all time. However, behind those brilliant frames that created the dream of millions of audiences, the reality was a harsh battlefield full of hidden corners. Do you know that Lynda Carter was harassed right on the film set, or that the entire crew almost had to pay with severe burns and real accidents because of dangerous explosive props? There was even a complete episode that was erased entirely just because a cosmetic sponsor was not satisfied with the content. Let us open together 15 little-known facts about Wonder Woman. 15. The episode was terminated because it touched the sponsor's money. In my memory, Wonder Woman always fights for truth and justice. But in the real world, there are truths that are forced to give way before the power of money. The episode titled "The Velvet Touch" is a typical example of a disappearance full of hidden issues. The content of the episode digs deeply into the toxic dark side of the cosmetics industry, a topic full of timeliness and ethics. However, it was terminated by the television station immediately before it could reach the audience. The real reason lies in an advertising contract. At that time, Lynda Carter was the global representative face of Maybelline. The network understood that if they allowed the warrior goddess want to expose the dark corners of cosmetics on screen, they would themselves overturn the lucrative source of income from sponsors. They would rather let a good story stay in the drawer than lose valuable checks. This event reminds us that even in the most glamorous period of cinema art, sometimes still has to bow to the harsh rules of the market. 14. The peeping scandal in the dressing room. The 70s was an era in which issues of harassment were often covered under the tolerant shell of film set culture. However, a frightening truth happened right behind the scenes of this legendary series that made everyone shudder. Taking advantage of the dressing room being arranged next to the camera area, a cameraman silently drilled a small hole through the separating wall to spy on Lynda Carter in her most private moments. The incident went on smoothly for a long time without being detected, thanks to the busy schedule and the noisy atmosphere of the film set that cleverly concealed all unusual traces. Only when the drilled hole was accidentally discovered did this perverse act come to light. However, instead of a public investigation to protect the victim, the network and the production unit chose to resolve it in silence. The perpetrator was fired immediately and left the film set quietly. This was a familiar way of handling in the film industry at that time, prioritizing the protection of brand image and profit of the series, instead of standing up to demand justice for the actress. In the end, the man only lost his job, but the psychological damage and the crude invasion of privacy of Lynda Carter were pushed aside with no one in that power structure caring or mentioning it. 13. The truth about the legendary transformation spin. If you ask anyone about the most impressive moment of Wonder Woman, the answer will certainly be the magical transformation spin. But the truth is, in the first draft pages of the comic, Diana Prince had never transformed in that way. In the original script of the film, the costume change scene was described very simply by a jump cut, a technique that Lynda Carter felt was too cheap and lacked the necessary magic of an Amazon goddess. It was Lynda herself, with the mindset of a dancer, who proposed the spinning motion to transform the character. In the early days, the film crew struggled terribly because of this spin. They did not know where to hide her everyday clothes, so they would not be caught on camera when she started spinning. The cameras at that time were bulky. The lighting effects were still crude, making Lynda spin over and over until she was dizzy in the dusty film set. In the end, the explosion light effect added later created a true miracle, turning an improvised idea of the actress into an irreplaceable part in the official lore of DC Comics forever after. 12. Almost died because of holding onto a real helicopter at a height of hundreds of meters. In the episode Angela 77, the audience had to hold their breath when seeing Wonder Woman holding onto the skid of a helicopter, flying up into the sky. Today, people would use safety wires and green screen, but at that time, everything was real. Initially, the stunt team performed this scene, but the director was not satisfied because they could not portray the majestic demeanor of Diana Prince. Without any hesitation, Lynda Carter decided to perform this life and death scene herself. She tightly held onto the helicopter skid as it actually took off from the ground, hanging in midair at a height of hundreds of meters among strong, whistling winds. When the executives of NBC saw the behind-the-scenes footage, they were furious. They were terrified at the scenario that their most valuable star could fall at any moment. However, amid the shouting and reproaches, Lynda only calmly smiled. That recklessness was not arrogance, but the price of a generation of actors willing to put their lives into every frame to exchange for absolute authenticity for the audience. But the danger did not only stop at dizzying heights, it was also hidden right in the very shining bracelets that we have always admired. 11. Serious burn accident due to manual explosives. In the years when CGI was still a fictional concept, every explosion effect was a gamble with real fire. The legendary bullet-deflecting bracelets of Wonder Woman were actually a complex handmade device, inside attached with mini detonators, and activated by a switch cleverly hidden in the palm of Lynda's hand. Every time she deflected bullets, sparks would shoot out from her wrist, creating an extremely powerful visual effect for viewers through the small screen. However, manual work always comes with risks. A small error in the wiring system led to a horrifying accident on set. 2 technicians were burned on the skin by fire, and 1 stunt performer was seriously burned when the detonator ignited at the wrong time. Even Lynda Carter once had to face death when an explosive charge was thrown close to her face, only a few millimeters away from causing permanent injury. To protect the image of the invincible goddess, in the public's mind, the network used all its power to cover up the information, turning the flesh-burning injuries into secrets forever buried under the ashes of the film set. 10. The truth about the costume that almost exposed on national broadcast? Costumes in superhero films of the 70s were a difficult problem of balancing between sexiness and practicality in movement. Initially, the designer Don Feld had prepared a red, white, blue bikini for Lynda to wear in underwater scenes. However, right in the first test shots, disaster was about to happen. When entering the water, resistance and movement caused the bikini to continuously slip and shift, threatening to create an exposure incident shocking on national television. Something unacceptable at that time. The film crew had to urgently halt the scene to find an alternative solution. In the end, the bikini was completely removed, making way for a tight blue wetsuit modest, but still honoring Lynda's body lines. This change not only saved the reputation of the film, but also created a stronger, more professional image of Wonder Woman underwater. It reminds us that behind the glamorous appearance on screen, there is an entire logistics team always racing against time to prevent the most sensitive risks. 9. Skirts, cloaks, and the dramas in the wardrobe.
I understand that I am Earthborn, Andros. This is my planet, my world. I know my mother, the Queen, and my sisters on Paradise Island would all agree with me.
If you only rewatch the first season of Wonder Woman, you will see that sometimes she wears a star skirt, sometimes a bodysuit, sometimes a US flag cloak. Many people think it is due to a change of style, but in fact it was a major experiment of the costume team. The first season was produced by ABC, set in World War II. When appearing at ceremonies or diplomatic missions, Wonder Woman often wore a pleated skirt covered with white stars, a kind of business attire of a wartime superhero. When in action, she would change to a more compact bodysuit. The cloak was used to create a grand entrance moment or cleverly cover blind spots when transitioning scenes between the main actress and the stunt performer. When moving to the second season, changing the network from ABC to CBS, they decided to completely remove the skirt because it was inconvenient for running, jumping, and fighting. The bodysuit remained the same. The cloak was occasionally still used, but only for technical reasons, hiding wires, changing camera angles, and was no longer a visual highlight. That wardrobe through 3 seasons is a silent record of how American TV changed the way it viewed female superheroes from formal to practical. 8. Self-torture to meet size 2 to 4 standards.
And who's gonna stop me? You, of all people, should realize how useless that gun is against me.
The 70s imposed a standard of beauty on women that was harsh to the point of being unreasonable, especially for a star carrying the image of a superhero like Lynda Carter. To be able to fit into the tight bodysuit that was tailored to extremely small measurements, size 2 to 4, Lynda had to go through diets and training that today we would call self-abuse. She once revealed that to achieve perfect footage in bikini or bodysuit costumes, she had to completely cut salt for many weeks so that her body would not retain water. More frighteningly, Lynda did not drink a single drop of water for 24 hours before entering a scene so that her muscles would look the driest and firmest under the lights. That was a silent self-torture behind the radiant smile of the Amazon goddess. What the audience saw was a symbol of health and power, but the reality behind it was a woman struggling with exhaustion and the seeds of body image disorder, so as not to disappoint the expectations of the public. 7. Salary, surpassing male co-star.
Well, I've had better mornings. What happened to those guys that jumped me?
Well, they tried to substitute a watch exactly like yours for your own. I suppose there was some kind of electronic device in it.
In the context where wage inequality was still a painful reality of Hollywood in the 70s, Lynda Carter created a real shock in the film industry. With intelligence and irreplaceable influence, she successfully negotiated a salary far exceeding her male co-star, Lyle Waggoner, who played Steve Trevor. From an initial pay of $3,500 US, she quickly raised the figure to $6,000 US per episode. At that time, a female actress receiving a higher salary than the male lead was almost unimaginable. This was not only a financial victory for Lynda personally, but also an opening shot for the movement demanding women's equality right in the harshest workplace in the world. Lynda was not only Wonder Woman on screen, she was also a pioneer, breaking invisible barriers behind the camera, proving that the value of women must be recognized with real numbers, rather than just empty compliments. 6. Deborah Winger, and the resentment toward the role of Wonder Girl in it.
Drusilla! Hi, Diana.
While Lynda Carter appreciated her role, the younger sister on screen, Deborah Winger playing Wonder Girl, had a completely opposite feeling. Deborah hated this film to the bone. She publicly called her costume garbage and felt humiliated having to run around in footage that she considered ridiculous. The resentment was so great that Deborah used most of her salary to hire lawyers to buy out her contract in order to leave the film as soon as possible. This resentment did not fade over time. Many decades later in interviews, Deborah still did not hesitate to use harsh words to talk about her experience, even publicly taking jabs at Lynda Carter's family on national television. This is a discordant note in the glorious symphony of the series, showing that behind the close sisterhood on screen was a broken relationship and artistic egos that never found a common voice. But the truth about Wonder Woman is not only personal conflicts, it also lies in the harsh numbers when the camera has not started rolling. 5. The HD version exposes poor special effects. When film restoration technology developed, the Wonder Woman series was remade in a sharp HD format. However, this progress unintentionally became a traitor. The blurry footage of the 70s that once helped hide manual tricks, now under the HD lens, all truths are exposed naked. Modern audiences can easily see the car jack clearly under the chassis when Diana lifts the car, or the obvious background mismatch between scenes. Even in grand sea scenes, people can clearly see the edge of the pool and the watermarks of a small artificial swimming pool. However, instead of causing disappointment, these flaws bring a warm, nostalgic feeling to loyal fans. It shows the dedication of the film crew under limited conditions, where they use creativity and sometimes even naivety to create miracles. Watching the HD version is not to find faults, but to appreciate a period of handcrafted cinema full of inspiration that is past. 4. Got the role with only exactly $25 in the account.
He plays a good piano, but he's not much on women's lib. I'm his wife.
Before the whole world bowed to the beauty of Wonder Woman, Lynda Carter had to experience the most bitter days of her career. When receiving the call informing that she got the role of Diana Prince Lynda was in a completely bankrupt state. In her wallet at that time, there were only exactly $25 US. Not enough to pay rent for the next month, let alone minimum needs. She had to borrow everywhere from friends to relatives to hold on waiting for the film to start shooting and receive the first salary. That poverty was the motivation pushing Lynda to fight with all her strength for this role. Every time you see Wonder Woman strong on screen, remember that it is the strength of a woman who has nothing left to lose, a person who rose from the ashes of failure to become a symbol of hope. Lynda's glory did not come from luck. It came from the perseverance of a person who had once touched the bottom of society. 3. Feminist message criticized as too much.
You excel in the games. It pleases me.
Oh, thank you, Mother.
I hear you're doing well in your studies.
Thank you.
Your instructors like you.
Oh, well, I like them.
The first season of the series, set in World War II, was not only an entertainment film, but also a strong feminist declaration. Wonder Woman in this period was not afraid to give sharp speeches about gender equality and the position of women in society. However, male critics at that time felt threatened. They publicly criticized the film as a disguised political lecture and said it was too heavy for a Friday night entertainment program. Under pressure from male audiences and conservative critics, the producers were forced to tone it down in the following seasons, when moving the setting to modern times. The feminist message was softened, making way for lighter action and romantic elements to please the mass audience. This is proof of the struggle between ideals and reality in television history, where pioneering voices often have to endure rejection of the era before being properly recognized later. In the flow of that change, even small details like the goddess's dress carried the secrets of practicality. 2. The secret of the diplomatic dress that disappeared.
You're okay now, Skip. Relax. He'll take you back, won't you, boy? Don't be afraid.
In the first season, we often saw Diana Prince appear in ceremonial scenes with a flared dress with star patterns and a very splendid American flag cloak. This was considered the diplomatic outfit, showing the formality and nobility of an Amazon princess. However, when the film moved from ABC to CBS, this dress completely disappeared without a trace. The real reason behind this change was not artistic. The network wanted Lynda Carter to show her famous long legs more. They realized that letting her wear short shorts throughout the episode would attract a higher number of male viewers compared to wearing a modest dress. The disappearance of the diplomatic dress was a trade-off between character image and rating, showing that even the costume of a superhero was influenced by calculations about visuals and audience taste at that time. 1. The forgotten Wonder Woman without superpowers, but here's version. Before Lynda Carter redefined this character forever, ABC had once experimented with a completely different version of Wonder Woman in 1974. That was a blonde Diana Prince wearing a blue-red sports outfit, and the strangest thing, she had no superpowers at all. This version was based on a short period in the comic when Diana was stripped of her powers and only fought as a martial arts skilled agent. This TV movie failed disastrously. The audience felt disappointed when they did not see the lasso, did not see the tiara, and did not see a true goddess. The failure of Kathy Lee Crosby in the 1974 version became a stepping stone for producers to realize their mistake. They understood that the world did not need a martial arts skilled agent, they needed a divine symbol. And that was exactly when Lynda Carter stepped out of the darkness, bringing the lasso of truth to change the history of cinema forever. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss our next videos. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next video.